There was a Baptist preacher who had the great, unique privilege of serving on staff at a little Baptist church with his wife's sister. So he was the preacher for the services, and she was the music leader. And this preacher loved his wife, but he did not love his wife's sister so much. They didn't get along all that well, so they got into a little bit of an argument. So it went from outside the church until it actually came inside the church. So one Sunday, the preacher stood up and he preached on commitment. He told the people about how they needed to step out there and serve and be faithful to the Lord. And a little bit known to him, his sister-in-law stood up to lead the hymn of invitation, and she led them in, "I shall not be moved." Maybe that was just a coincidence. Next week he got up and he preached on tithing and giving faithfully to the Lord, and she stood up and led the invitation, and they sang, "Jesus paid it all." Third week, he preached on gossiping, how we need to keep our tongues in check. And she stood up and led the invitation. I love to tell the story. Finally, the fourth week, he had just become disgusted over the situation. He told the congregation that he was thinking about resigning, and she led them in the song, "Oh, Why Not Tonight?" It came to pass the preacher did indeed resign. The next week he informed the church that it was Jesus who led him to that church, and it was Jesus that was taking him away, and she stood up and proudly led them in. What a friend we have in Jesus. Now see, that sister-in-law there, she took those titles of those songs and she used those out of context. What a friend we have in Jesus has nothing to do with the fact that that preacher was leaving that church. Jesus paid it all has nothing to do with the fact that we are not called to give to our local body. And sometimes what we do is we take God's Word and we take just a little piece of it, just a little section, maybe just one phrase or one sentence, and we pull it out of its context, we take it out of all the verses that are surrounding it, all the history that's before, all the things that come after it, all the other verses that confirm or deny exactly what it means, and we take just those words and we use those words to mean whatever we want them to say. So that's what it means to take Scripture out of context. It means that we put meaning into the Word for whatever we want it to mean instead of actually looking at what those verses mean in the right context. So we've been going through this series called Context Matters. We've been looking at verses and phrases that we have seen, that we have heard, that most of us know, to determine, are we understanding this verse for exactly what it means? And we're asking questions like, who is writing this? Who are they writing to? What are they saying? What are the situations that surround these verses? What other scriptures either back up or deny this meaning? So this morning, you can have your Bibles. Turn to Matthew chapter 18. We're going to be in verses 15 through 20 today. Matthew 18, verses 15 through 20. We're going to see what we can learn about the context of these verses. Number one, we're going to see that Matthew lays out the ground rules. I haven't had too many stories this year so far about the green devil in my backyard, also known as my kids' swimming pool. But I had a little story a couple weeks ago I'm going to share with you today. So we walked outside, everything's doing okay. So far this year, the green devil has been behaving. It is the blue angel so far. But just so you know, it ain't hot yet. And when it gets hot, that's when things go bad in the pool world. So it's still been kind of cold water. Okay. We walked out there, and we have this sand filter in this pump. It looks kind of like this here. I found a picture online. And so this big old thing has sand in it. That little thing on the bottom is a pump. And there's that big hose that goes in between them. And the one on ours is real hard. It has these two connections on each end. And last year we had a little leak in it. It was a little pinhole leak, and it was spraying out on a hot day. You could stand by, let it soak you down. It felt real good. But that's not good for the pump, so we had to fix it. So we looked up how much this hose thing cost online, and it was like, 2 kids and a liver. So we weren't going to get one of those. So we started figuring out how can we fix this thing. So we bought all this Miracle Wrap tape, and we put super glue and all this stuff on there, and didn't know that worked. And so somebody told me, well, one thing you can do is you can just cut it right where it's leaking. Just cut that hose in half, and you can buy this rubber connector dilly thing for like $4, and just put each on there and clamp it down. You're good to go. So we did that last year. Worked fine. So if it costs 2 kids and a liver versus $4 rubber thingy, I'm going for the $4 rubber thingy, right? So we walked out last week or so, and we had another leak at a different place. No problem. Okay, I've never done this before. My friend did it from the last time, but I can do this. I can figure it out. So we go get this rubber thing in. I go out there. I turn everything off. I cut the hose open, and I'm looking. I can't find the rubber thing in. It was because it was in my wife's car. She went home. No problem. I got peace in the valley, so I'll just wait for her to get here. She gets home a couple hours later, and it had just gotten dark, but I didn't want to leave all that exposed and not fixed overnight. So I said, babe, will you just come outside with me and help me fix this? Won't take 5 minutes, right? There ain't nothing that you work on outside at night in the dark that takes 5 minutes. There ain't nothing. But in my mind, I was really thinking, go out there, plant, we're good, we're done. So she gets everything from the car, we'll go out there and put it on both sides, and we clamp it down real tight. It looks good. I'm feeling accomplished about this. I still got like 90 seconds to spare. We're going to make it back inside. We turn the pump on low. Okay, there's 2 cigs, that's low and high. So turn on low, we're watching it. Everything's flowing, looking okay. No water leaking everywhere. I think we done did it. So I said, okay, now I'm going to turn on high. Let's see what happens. And I flip the switch on high. And the next few moments just become a blur. I'm not exactly sure what happened. But it went from being calm and quiet and still to an image kind of something like this here. I have a video. That's what was happening in my background. We were soaked. I mean, it just covered us totally. We were just standing. One minute you flip the switch, and then the next minute there's a waterfall gushing out of this machine. So I turn the pump off. I'm going, man, what just happened? And so my wife's standing there going, only 5 minutes, huh? Only 5 minutes. She's drenched, headed to us. Hey, love, you go inside, you get dried off, you change clothes, I'm going to figure out what happened. So I started looking through all these pieces, and I'm thinking, man, what happened to that hose? It just blew right off where we had tightened it down, and I thought, well, I wonder what happened. And so under a little bit of further investigation, I remembered something. When I went to cut that hose, I had to turn that filter to the closed position. So that way the water wouldn't just be leaking out of the pool. But when I hooked it back up to the thing, I didn't put it in the open position. So there's some ground rules. There are some basic principles that go with plumbing and with filters and with pumps. One of those ground rules is it is totally okay to close off your filter as long as your pump is not running. One of the ground rules, basic principles is it is not okay to turn your pump on high when your filter is closed. It will do that thing that you showed your man to do. Ground rules, basic principles are all in life. Think about it in sports. In basketball, ground rules. Don't run with the ball in your hands. Don't step out of bounds. At school, don't talk when the teacher's talking. Don't play with your fidget spinner. Teachers, amen? Yeah. At work, don't be late and don't break the rules. In a restaurant, pay your bill before you leave and don't eat food off a stranger's plate. Ground rules, basic things we should understand. And they guide us in this life, and so we're walking through Matthew because we want to see what he said before these first verses we're looking at today. There's 18 chapters there. And maybe just kind of laying out the story, the gospel, and the life of Jesus Christ. He tells us about his genealogy and his birth, about his baptism and temptation. He walks through the entire Sermon on the Mount, the longest discourse that we ever recorded from Jesus. He writes about those who chose to follow him. He writes about those who rejected him. He writes about those that he healed, the calls of discipleship. He writes down questions that people ask and Jesus' answers about life and death and eternity. He records miracles, instructions, warnings, and many parables, including the parable of the lost sheep. And he says, if a man has 100 sheep and one gets away, does he surely not leave the 99 and go and find the one? And when he finds it, he rejoices. And that makes sense to us. If we have $100 bills and we lose one, we'll set the 99 aside and we'll find that $1 bill we want. If you have 100 peanut M&Ms and you lose one, you're going to find the one peanut M&M. That chocolate, it has things that just skill, just let it go, keep your 99. But a peanut M&M, you go and you find the one, and then you rejoice. I got it, all 100 back for me. And then he immediately goes into these scriptures about reconciliation with fellow believers who sin against you. And he lays out these ground rules, these basic principles about what you're to do when that happens in your life. Matthew 18, verse 15, we'll do these little sections at a time. If your brother sins against you, stop right there. Just hold on. Because I will have you know today that I am an only child. And if I'm an only child, that means I have no brother who could ever sin against me. This sermon does not apply. I am headed to the very day. I will catch all later. No. This is not talking about your biological brother or your biological sister. This is your brother or sister in faith and in Christ. If your brother sins against you, which means if he hurts you, if he attacks you, if he offends you, if he takes advantage of you, or if he does you wrong, and also this word means if he is in sin. So we think about sin, I think, two ways. We think about sins of omission and sins of commission. And so a sin of omission would be when the Lord tells you to do something and you don't do it. You omitted it. Or a sin of commission is when the Lord tells you not to do something and you do it anyway. You commit that sin. And so he says this is offensive to us within the body of believers. We like to say that, I'll hold on just a minute. If someone else in the church, if there's another believer, who is actively living in sin, unrepentantly, I don't really know that that's any of my business, or I don't really understand how that can offend me, because isn't that something that is between them and the Lord? And partially, yes, that is very true. Our sins are between us and the Lord. He is the great judge, and He is the sin forgiver. But there's also all these scriptures throughout the Bible that tell us that we are a family, and that we are a body of believers, and that we are called to work and serve and live together. Therefore, if there is one who is within the body, and they choose sin over righteousness, and that means they are choosing selfishness over generosity, and if our effectiveness as the body of Christ depends on each of our willingness to pursue Christ and run from sin, and you choose sin that can lead one of us or lead me astray, then guess what? That offends me. And it should offend you too. Because if we're going to be the family and the body that serves together, then we want to be running on all 8 cylinders. Therefore, we have this great responsibility to keep each other on track. So if your brother sins against you, if he misses the mark, gets off course, does you wrong or does wrong, this is what you should do. Thank you. Ground rules. Go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. I don't like this at all, preacher. This is terrible. Now, this verse may apply to some people in this room, but obviously this verse does not apply to me. Because if this verse applied to me, then God would have given me a much stronger spirit of confrontation. Because I do not like confrontation. I do not like it at all. And even the thought of the idea of going to speak to someone else about something they have done wrong or done something against me makes me feel very uncomfortable. I want to climb under the pew and hide my head. I don't even want to make eye contact with you while you're talking about it right now. I don't like this subject whatsoever. And I completely understand it. I do. He never says this is going to be an easy thing. But here's also what I understand. I have seen the body of Christ absolutely rot from the inside out too many times because we would rather overlook sin or hide our hurt feelings than address them in honesty. And ignoring the problem will never bring healing or restoration to the body of Christ. Yeah. But with that said, he's very clear on how we are to do this. This verse does not say, when your brother sins against you, you go out into the barn of righteousness and you load up on your Clydesdale of no humility. And you ride out to your neighbor's house and you get a megaphone and sit in the driveway and you call out to them and tell them how sorry they are, how lowly they are, and how much better you are than they. It doesn't say anything about anything like that. Because that's wrong. But this is what it does say. When your brother sins against you, you go to that person one-on-one, just you and them, in humility and in love, and you talk to them. The ESV says, if matters can be settled without involving others, that keeps the rumors and the misunderstandings from multiplying and will keep the conflict from spreading. Poison in the church. Verse 15. If he listens to you, You have gained your brother. What a key part of this verse that helps us see this is the matter at hand. This is the ultimate goal of these verses. Restoration. The goal is not to point them out. The goal is not to single them out. The goal is not to make them feel bad about it. The goal is not to ostracize them from the world. The goal is to restore them. Remember, right before this, he told the parable. You have the 99 and the one gets away. So what do? You go after the 9, you go after the one. Why do you go after the one? So you can whip it hard and tell it to get off your pasture. No, it doesn't say that. It says you go find the one so you can barbecue it for dinner. No, it doesn't say that either. It says you go find the one so you can bring it back and restore it. Galatians 6:1. Brothers, if anyone is caught in any transgression, you who are spiritual, that's us, should restore him in a spirit of gentleness. We want to bring them back to Christ, back to faith, back to righteousness. So we go to them one-on-one. And if they listen, which means the choice is up to them, it's not up to us. If they listen, you have gained your brother. Leviticus 19:17. You shall not hate your brother in your heart, but you shall reason frankly with your neighbor, lest you incur sin because of him. You shall not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the sons of your own people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. And too often what we see instead is somebody gets offended or they get upset and they don't go to them one-on-one and they don't speak to them in gentleness and humility. Instead, they hide it in their heart. And slowly by slowly, their heart grows darker. And it turns into hatred. And it turns into vengeance and a grudge. And one of the saddest parts is that many of those times, the offender has absolutely no idea that they even did anything wrong. I'll tell you a true story. Years ago, we had a couple in the church that I was pastoring, and they called our chairman deacons to let him know that they were leaving the church because of something that I did to them. They just could not believe it. They were appalled. And they would never set foot inside that church again. The chairman deacons came to me with me and said, Pastor, his family was leaving the church. And they say, you have done something to hurt them. You know what it is? I have no idea. If you don't know this about me, I am very sensitive. And if I have done something to offend you, I want to know about it immediately because it will eat me up inside. I have no idea. No, what's the problem? I said, well, I'll call and find out what it is. So I called and said, hey, I heard you're upset. I did something. Can you please tell me what it is? And let's try to make this right. And they said, Pastor, 6 months ago. Let me say that again. 6 months ago, during the welcome time, you know, just like we do here with shake hands, you walked right past us and didn't say a word. 6 months ago, and let me tell you, church, there's a very good reason why I walked past them and didn't say anything to them. Let me tell you what it is. I didn't see them. I didn't see them. I walk past some of y'all every single Sunday and don't speak to you. Please do not be offended by that. It's not because I meant to not speak to you. It's because I can't speak to every single person in there every week. Now, for the 5 months and 3 weeks after that 1 week, I probably shook their hand and spoke to them almost every single week. But on that one Sunday, I didn't. So they were mad and they were upset and they were leaving the church because they told them that for 6 months and never said anything. We do the same thing all the time. You know, 4 years ago, well, they sure made me mad. One of these days, I'm going to say something to them about it. Imagine waiting 4 years. He says, if your brother offends you, go to him. Talk to him in humility, in love, and grace, not with a pointing finger, but in order to restore the relationship. But what happens if you don't win your brother? Verse 16. But if he does not listen, take 1 or 2 others along with you, that every charge may be established by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. That's what I'm talking about. So I went to my brother and I told him, listen, you done did messed up. You have hurt me. You have sat in my pew. You took my line and you took my place in the buffet line. You got my parking spot. You stole my bulletin, and not only did I come to you and tell you you're wrong and you not listen, now I'm coming back to you with my 2 best buddies, and we got baseball bats and ropes. So you better get ready, fool, because we're coming for you. Lord have mercy. That's not what this verse says. Deuteronomy 19:15 says, a single witness shall not suffice against a person for any crime, for any wrong in connection with any offense that has been committed. Only evidence of 2 witnesses or of 3 witnesses shall be a charge to be established. So this is good wisdom. This is a guiding principle. You go to that person one-on-one. If there's no resolution to be found, and you go and you find 2 other people or 3 other people who are good, godly prayer warriors. These people will not be your 2 best friends. These people will not be from finding a poll on Facebook that says, I'm looking for anybody who hates this person who wants to go with me and bow mouth, and please sign up at 555. These are going to be neutral people who are only interested in righteousness, the Lord's will, and the unity of the church. And God will show you who they are. And to be witnesses does not mean that they witnessed whatever happened between you and that person. It means they are witnesses to what is happening between you and that person. Remember, the goal is not to shame, it is not to embarrass, the goal is to restore. And so maybe they won't listen to you because of hurt feelings, or confusion, misunderstanding. Maybe they'll listen when 2 or 3 come together in the name of the Lord. But what happens if that doesn't work? Verse 17. If he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if he refuses to listen even to the church, let them be to you as a Gentile and a tax collector. Things are getting pretty serious now. Let me be very clear. Anyone who loves the Lord and is led by the Spirit, it will never get to this 3rd step. Because they will be willing to be honest and communicate and restore in that very first step. But if they don't, sure, their heart will be soft when you come with 2 or 3 other people who are faithful and prayer warriors. But even if still then, we very, very seldom see reconciliation and restoration get to the point where it comes before the church. I've seen it happen one time in my life, and it was a church in a different state. This is not something that happens very often. We want to be very clear about what this means to tell the church. What this does not mean is that we walk around to all the life group rooms, bringing free donuts and hot coffee, trying to build up a political campaign about this person who has hurt us or offended us. This is not enabling us to gossip or to slander, and yet it brings out this wonderful point that we need to see. That how often in this life are we more than willing to skip steps 1 and step 2 and jump right out there to step 3. And we have a problem, we have been offended, or somebody has sinned against us, or they are sinning in the eyes of the Lord, and we love to go and tell everybody else about what that person is doing. And that's wrong. Scripture says that's not what we're supposed to do. To take it before the church does not mean that we're rallying a mob. It does not mean that we're going to bring them up here in the front and everybody throw tomatoes at them. What it's saying is that we get together and say, I've been to this person one-on-one and they are not saying the truth. So I'm going to get 2 of the prayer warriors to go with me, and we're going to try to talk to them, and we're going to listen, and we're going to love, and we're going to pray. And they are still refusing to see the truth. So I'm going to take this to the church. Not because I want them behind me, not because I want them to pick my side, but because we are going to come together as a family. We're going to say, listen, one of our brothers or sisters is really struggling. And we have got to pray and figure this out together, how we can restore them. It's not about kicking people out of church. It's not about running them off. But if they won't listen, treat them as a Gentile or a tax collector. John MacArthur says that means remove them as a detrimental influence from the fellowship of the church, and then regard them as an evangelistic prospect rather than as a brother. Please hear very clearly, this verse is not telling us that the church is in the business of finding everyone who sins and kicking them out, or we'd all be kicked out of the church. But there is this idea of church discipline, and there is this warning about those who refuse to see and hear the truth. 1 Corinthians 5 says, I write to you in my letter not to associate with sexually immoral people, not at all many those of the world, or the greedy, or the swindlers, or the idolaters. Since then, you need to go out of the world. But now I am writing to you not to associate with anyone who bears the name of a brother, if he is guilty of sexual immorality or greed, an idolater, a reveler, a drunkard, or a swindler. not even to eat with such a one. For what have I to do with judging outsiders? It's not those inside the church whom you are to judge. God judges those outside. Purge the evil from among you. 2 Thessalonians 3. Now we command you, brothers, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that you keep away from any brother who is walking in idleness, and not in accord with the tradition that you received from us. For you yourselves know how you ought to imitate us, because we were not idle when we were with you, nor do we eat anyone's bread without paying for it, but with toil and labor we work night and day, that we might not be a burden to any of you. It was not because we do not have the right, but to give you and ourselves an example to imitate. For even when we were with you, we would give you this command: if anyone is not willing to work, let him not eat. For we hear the same among you, walk in idleness, not busy at work, but busy bodies. No such persons we command and encourage in the Lord Jesus Christ to do their work quietly, to earn their own living. As for you, brothers, do not grow weary in doing good. If anyone does not obey what we say in this letter, take note of that person. Have nothing to do with him, that he may be ashamed. Do not regard him as an enemy, but warn him as a brother, Titus 3:10. As for a person who stirs up division, after warning him once and then twice, have nothing to do with him, knowing that such a person is warped and sinful, he is condemned. So, preacher, what I'm hearing you say is that anybody who sins against me, or sins against the Lord, or sins against the church, we need to go immediately into a called business meeting and kick them out of Laverne IA. Lord have mercy. I don't know what you were listening to, but it's obviously not what I was just saying. He says there's this process that we follow. And when there's conflict and there are hurt feelings, and when there are believers in the church, Christ followers who are living in sin and unrepentant of it, when there are those who are doing wrong and they know better, this is what you should do. You go to them one-on-one. You better make sure you are right before the Lord before you do, and the plank is out of your own eye. And have a spirit of love and gentleness and humility. No pride, no anger, no vengeance. And you pray with them. And you talk to them. And you address the issue. And if the result is not favorable and not restoration, you find godly men or women to go with you, to pray with them, and talk with them, and do everything you can to restore them. And if that doesn't work, then you come together as a church, and you pray for them, and you talk to them, and you listen to them, and you do not gossip about them, and you do not look down upon them, you do not throw stones at them. You do everything you can to restore them and bring them back into the fellowship. And if that doesn't work, you treat them like a Gentile or a tax collector. You treat them as one who does not know the Lord. But if they are still blinded by their sin at that point in time, there's a very strong chance that the Spirit of God does not reside in their hearts, and we want to do our very best to lead them to Jesus. Number 2, we see the gavel's roar. Verse 18. Truly I say to you, whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Very unfamiliar phrases that we don't use very often in the world today about binding and loosing. So we have to look at the context and see what this means. If you took just this verse, you could say, okay, it's bound on earth, it's bound in heaven. If it's loosed on earth, it's loosed in heaven. So I guess that means that if I'm in the process of tying somebody up because they were robbing my house, and somehow they die in that process, then I guess that means they will also be tied up if they go to heaven. Because whatever is bound on earth will be bound in heaven. And I guess when I get home today, if my gopher trap is full, and I got all these gophers, and I let them loose on earth, and that means I will also let them loose in heaven. No. That's not what it means. So then what does it mean to be bound and to be loosed? We have to think about our context. What's he been talking about? Dealing with those who have sinned against you. And in that mind frame, he says, whatever we bind here will be bound in heaven. Whatever we loose here will be loosened in heaven. So we take a few steps back. Matthew 16, 18, and 19. And I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. And whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Jesus tells Peter, whatever you bind on earth, it will be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth, it will be loosed in heaven. What we are saying is an authority that God has given to Peter and a realization. He says, as my follower and as my disciple, as an apostle, you have this great responsibility and privilege to preach the good news of Jesus Christ, the gospel. Great privilege to be able to share it with a lost and a dying world that gives people access to eternal life. And depending on their choice, whether they accept it or reject it, they will either be bound or they will be set free. He says, and Peter, you have this authority to declare the terms under which God forgives or refuses to forgive the sin of the wayward disciple. John 20. Jesus said to them again, peace be with you, as the Father has sent me, even so I am sending you. And when he had said this, he breathed on them and said to them, receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive the sins of any, they are forgiven them. If you withhold forgiveness from any, it is withheld. He says it is with great authority that you have to exercise this discipline concerning the right or wrong conduct within the church. And if believers are in one accord, and they see that one who has done wrong has repented, then they will be forgiven. If they have not, they will be bound in their selfishness and their sin, and God sees their hearts. Too often we take this verse and say, well, that sounds to me like I'm the judge. I can sit up there on the throne with my gavel, my black robe, and my white wig. And where says we must be very careful that we never feel like we are called to be the Christian police, because we are not. He says instead what God is saying is that He will exercise His authority through us in order to restore His erring children.
That's good.
And I know what some of you are thinking. I can feel the tension in the room. Well, this makes me very uncomfortable. Because it sounds like judging. It sounds a whole lot like judging. I know we talked a couple weeks ago in Matthew 7:1, but it sounds like judging, and I do not like it. I'm not going to pass sentence on the people. I am not going to step on the throne. I am not going to look down upon them. It's not talking about that. This is talking about restoration. We have to remember the context. Restoring our brothers and sisters who have fallen to sin requires us to talk to them.
Amen.
To pray with them. To address the issue. And when we go, we must speak the truth in love. D.L. Moody has one of the greatest quotes about this I've ever heard. Here's what is so important about speaking the truth in love. If we have love, but we have no truth, the result is hypocrisy. But if we have truth and don't have love, the result is brutality. So we have truth in love, knowing that humility always comes before honesty. And when we do that, God says that as believers we have the authority to bind and to loosen, and heaven will agree with us because we are not acting on our own plan or our own will. We are following His instructions. Number 3, He gives us a gentle reminder. A few weeks ago we went over to Six Flags. If you've ever been there, there's a little bit of everything to do. So there's all kinds of roller coasters, there's slides, there's swinging things, there's games. It is a children's or an adult playground, and you can find something to do all day long. On this day that we went, it had not been any rain forecasted for the day, so we thought we were good and safe. And about 2:30 in the afternoon, something opened up in the sky, and it just came a torrential downpour about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So we made it to one of the little shops, and we were sitting there. My kids were, playing and looking at all the stuff. And I was just sitting there, and I was wondering about how long that rain was going to take, and when it may end up stopping. If we were ever going to be able to get to the car dry, if we were going to be underwater, and they start building a boat out of things inside of that building. And I looked around, I couldn't see my kids anywhere. Started wondering where they were, and then I heard them outside. And when I went and I looked and I saw what they were doing, I took a little video. And I'm going to show you this is what my kids and their friends were doing on that day when it was raining. So we're at Six Flags, Texas. This is an amusement park that people come from all over the world to enjoy and to play in. And those kids right there had more fun running back and forth across the street in the rain than they did on any ride that whole day. And that was a gentle reminder to me that sometimes in this life, the sweetest and the best moments that we have really have nothing to do with where we are or what we're doing, but just the people that we're with. And in this life, we're called to be a body who does life together in sunshine, and rain, and storms, and the clear skies, during the good times and the bad. In order for us to be the body that God has called us to, we must be willing to address concerns in the body. And it starts with just a simple conversation. It's not going to be easy, but here's the promise that God gives to us. Verse 19. Again, I say to you, if two of you agree on earth about anything they ask, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. Oh man, this sounds wonderful. Because this is another one of those verses you can very easily take out of context. Let's read it again. Let's make sure what it says, okay? Just this verse. Again, I say to you, if two of you agree on earth about anything they ask, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. Well, then I think we need to have a meeting right after church, okay? Me and Pastor Jeff, we're going to have a meeting, two of us, on earth. And we are going to agree that Lavernia needs a Chick-fil-A built tomorrow. Hey, now listen. Don't laugh. It's coming. Because this verse just said, if two of you agree on earth, it will be done. Chick-fil-A's coming. We are also going to agree that everyone in this church who has a mortgage is going to be forgiven. Gone. You'll be getting a letter from your mortgage company in no time flat saying your mortgage has been wiped away, it's clean, no more house note for you, congratulations. And I think that any child in this church should have a full scholarship to any college they want to go to in the world. Pastor Jeff and I can agree on that on earth, and I am going to sit down with my wife after this. And we will agree that our pool will require no more maintenance, no more parts, and no more chemicals, and it will always be crystal clear and blue. And as long as we agree to, right, on earth, it will be done. That's what the verse says. If you take it out of context. But what's he been talking about? Dealing with sins within the body of Christ. When you're trying to make decisions on how to reconcile and restore broken relationships. This verse says that when we come together in the Spirit, by the truth of the Word, God will give us what we ask, which is for guidance and help and wisdom in knowing what to do. Moody says, any request for God's providential guidance will be given to us. And when it says about anything, when we ask about anything, that means any judicial matter of the church. Verse 20, for where two or three are gathered in my name, there I am among them. There's the verse. It's another one. Taking that out of context. Because here's when I hear this verse. We are planning a prayer meeting tonight, church. At 7 o'clock, we're going to meet in this sanctuary. And we're going to pray for the Lord's will of our church. 7 o'clock on our knees. This is not true. This is just an example. 7 o'clock, we're going to pray tonight. And we expect you all to be here. And at 7 o'clock tonight, me and Jeff and Deb are sitting up here in the front. And 10 people came. And we said, out of this whole church, only 10 people came. And I promise you, somebody's going to say, well, you know what the Bible says? Where two or three are gathered, God is there. This scripture is not a secret code or a numerical sequence that tells us about the presence of the Lord.
Amen. Right.
That's not what this verse means. It sounds great, makes you feel better. But if you have 100 people praying, is God there? Go ahead. How about 50 people praying? Is God there with them? How about 10? If you have 10 people there, is God with them? How about 5? If you have 5 people praying, is God there with them? What about 3? Is God there with you 3 people? How about 1? If there's 1 person in this room, is God there with them?
Yes.
How about if nobody's here? Is God still there? You better believe it. God is absolutely everywhere. Instead, what this verse is saying is that when there is sin in the life of the believer, we want to fix that relationship in the body. And this verse is telling us the church has to address their members openly. They must help them see they're on the wrong path. It says that we have an authority as believers in Christ to hold our brothers and sisters accountable. It says that we have a process that we follow. We have a right to make decisions and sound judgments based on the leadership of the Spirit and the truth of God's Word. And when we see God for His guidance, He will give it to us and He will back us up. And when we engage in a process of restoration, where 2 or 3 are gathered, God will be there. It doesn't require 2 or 3 people for God's presence to be with us. But this verse says that when we choose to restore those who have fallen to sin, and when we seek unity in rendering decisions in the church, God will be with us. Amen. Lord, today, we pray that the truth of these verses would be understood in the right context. Lord, that when our brother or sister sins against us, there's a plan that you give us to follow to find restoration. Lord, it is not a plan that involves arrogance. It is not a plan that involves a lack of humility. It is certainly not a plan of condescension. Lord, it is a plan filled with grace, forgiveness, understanding, and accountability. So, Lord, from these verses we see that if our brother or sister sins against us, if they've offended us, if they have hurt us, if they've walked away from the truth, Lord, if they are stepping out of your will, then, Lord, we are to go to them, making sure that our hearts are right before you. We are to speak to them, show them that we care for them, pray with them, and lead them back. Lord, if restoration is not found, then we find 2 or 3 others who only desire unity within the body and who are led by your Spirit, and we go back again and we try to talk about it and pray about it and ask you to change homes. And then, Lord, still, if this doesn't work, we come together as a family. Because we want nothing more than unity and restoration in the body. And we have the power to bind, we have the power to loosen. It's only a power that you give us. And we only want to do your will. And when we become overwhelmed, and it becomes too much, and it feels uncomfortable, you promise us that when 2 or 3 of us get together to heal the body of believers, to bring restoration, that you are there. We have your power. We have your presence. And we know that you are working all things out for good. So God, today we pray that in this body of believers, God, in your church as a whole, unity and restoration would always be our goal. Lord, we are not ignorant to the fact that we are a different people. And every pew in this room, there's a different individual with a different opinion and a different feeling and a different perspective. Which is why it's so beautiful that you bring us all together in unity because of your love and forgiveness. So, Lord, if there are hurt feelings, if there are unresolved issues, Lord, if there are conversations that need to be had in love and in humility, God, we pray you spur them today. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Stand together, please.